lot of people in various communities that I'm a member of are in a heightened state lately of anxiety, of despair, of depression, of frustration, of fear. There are lots of feelings going around, and feelings are running really high. And we all know that when our feelings are way up here, our thinking tends to come down here. A physiological response happens when we get into a threat response, when we get into fear and terror and panic. And that physiological response distorts our posture in ways that you probably are familiar with, at least in your shoulders, but also distorts our thinking, distorts our brain function, because it starts prioritizing instant survival over long-term planning and long-term well-being. And right now, I think long-term well-being is where we need to be focused, despite the body's impulse to focus on get me out of here alive. So one thing you can do to help move the brain and body out of that threat response and into a more sedate, a more steady place where you can do long-term planning for well-being is through gentle, easy movement. So I'm going to invite you to try this. We're going to start with just a sway back and forth, just a sway. And as we go through this whole practice, I want you to just notice what your mind stuff feels like. Does it start getting really frustrated? Does it start getting amped up? Okay, that's information. Or does it maybe cool down? To the sway, I'm going to try to add some sinuousness, some fluidity. This involves moving my rib cage. And for a lot of us, especially those of us either with a trauma history, people who are neurodivergent and highly masked or have been highly masked, or people who have needed to be hypervigilant to survive, this can be tricky. So you're not going to push hard and try to stretch and force your rib cage. We're not in forcing right now. We're in flowing. And again, for a lot of us, especially if our body awareness is a little bit lower or lowered, we're going to have a hard time with this. So be gentle and just try to feel your way to my rib cage leads, my head and my hips follow. Rib cage leads, head and hips follow. You can try this front and back too. It's not a big deal. It's just a little wobbly wave all the way up and down. Again, this is really tricky for a lot of people when you start. So if you're struggling with this, if it feels clunky and rigid and how do I do that? Great, you're in the right place to have a significant movement breakthrough that might really give you some new tools for managing mental stress too. So just keep trying just a little bit. If you do start getting agitated because it's frustrating and I don't know if I'm doing it right and I don't know if I can do it right, let's back off. Come back later. But if you